To find out just how revolutionary 3D printers might be, I tracked down Nick Yarbrough, a computer programmer and member of an informal group of local hackers and 3D printer enthusiasts, the kind of people who like to call themselves makers.
I like making stuff, and I think it's really nice that I can sit down, come up with an idea in my head, and use a computer to make it a reality.
What Nick will make into a reality today is this virtual image of me, created by an infrared scanner that recorded the image as I slowly rotated on a chair. Nick will feed the image into this machine, a 3D printer or bot, that will turn it into a tiny plastic statue, something that would sort of resemble this if I had green skin and looked like Yoda. I'll show you the final product in a moment, but first, what really is a 3D printer? Coastal Carolina University physics professor Chris Moore tells me it's sort of like a hot glue gun with motors.
And it will print a layer by layer by moving around and up and down while extruding hot plastic.
3D printers made headlines last summer when a Texas student announced that he had used a printer to make a plastic gun, one that might get past a metal detector at an airport. So, how worried should we be about terrorists printing out guns that could be easily hidden and deadly? Nick says, don't lose sleep over it.
There's a lot easier ways to get a firearm than to buy a 3D printer and learn all the necessary skills.
Chris adds the kind of gun you can make from most printers would probably be more dangerous to the person firing it than to whoever it was aimed at. He says the media distress about 3D printed guns is overblown. But there are other concerns about these machines, like what if someday every home has a printer that could make, say, knobs, buttons, doodads? What would then happen to companies that manufacture knobs, buttons, and doodads? Would they go out of business? Chris says not likely.
3D printing will never compete with the economies of scale that you can get in a traditional manufacturing setting. 3D printing is always going to be more expensive when you're talking about manufacturing 10,000 pieces.
Where 3D technology really shines is in the making of one-of-a-kind items. That includes bioprinting of organs, human body parts for transplant purposes. It sounds futuristic, but it's real enough to be used as a plot point in a recent episode of the ABC medical drama Grey's Anatomy.
Eventually, even using a patient's own cells to prevent rejection.
Soon, science fiction will meet reality.
So I think next year they're putting the first 3D printed liver into a human subject.
My search for the best 3D printer on the Grand Strand took me to this $85,000 machine at Horry Georgetown Tech. It can't print human body parts, but it is good at making prototypes for manufacturers. It can even print objects with movable parts, allowing engineers to create an item they can hold in their hand instead of just view on a computer screen.
What you have a 3D print machine and you can just go ahead and do it and show to people, they get a better understanding of the shapes, they get a better understanding of how it's going to look.
Sullivan Diaza says a prototype that used to take weeks to build and cost thousands of dollars can now be done in a few hours at a cost of pennies. What the machine is printing right now is a model that will look like this one of the school's new science building. So here it is, the little mini me that was made from that image I showed you a few minutes ago. So what do you think? Does it do me justice? I actually think it's pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good, especially when you consider that 3D printers today are still in their infancy. It's going to be a while before they reach grown-up stage.
You won't see 3D printers available in Walmart anytime soon. So they're very finicky and it takes quite a bit of time in order to be able to get it to print an object well.
So maybe you won't have a 3D printer in your living room next week, but what if I told you 3D printers have helped put people to work right now, right here on the Grand Strand? The director of the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Corporation tells me one big reason that PTR Industries chose to move to Horry County is because that gun manufacturer will have access to a cutting-edge 3D printer at the Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology in Florence. So 3D printers aren't just making doodads, they're making jobs and maybe reshaping the future.
My guess is that the future of 3D printing, where it's really going to revolutionize our society, we don't know yet. And we'll find out when it does.
In Horry County, Joel Allen, WPDE News Channel 15.